Welcome back, everyone. My name is Dr. Alison Bernard, and I'm the Executive Director of the Breastfeeding and Child Nutrition Foundation. And you're here with us on the Milk of the Matter. Today on the couch, we have Michelle and Damar and their little one. And today they're going to share their experiences of breastfeeding and parenting with us. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Damar.
Hi, Dr. Bernard.
Of course. We're very, very happy to have you. So I'm going to start with you, Michelle. So congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
With your little baby girl. I just wondered if you could start us off by sharing some of your experience of breastfeeding to start with.
Well, the journey has not been as straightforward as I would have liked.
Right.
We kind of had a challenging start, but I did not expect to love it as much as I did.
Really?
I thought that it's something you do because it's vital for them and it is part of being a mother, but I could not have imagined the joy and the sense of just peace and connection that you get with breastfeeding. So that is a surprise to me.
That was the big thing that you got from breastfeeding. Not the only thing, but one of the big things.
One of the unexpected things.
Right. Okay. And tell me, before you had your little one, what were your preconceptions about breastfeeding? What did you think it was going to be like?
Honestly, I didn't know or think that it would have been for me.
Right. And you didn't plan to breastfeed?
I did if it happened.
Okay.
But I've heard so many, I want to say no old wives' tales
right.
about, challenges that women had. My own mom did not breastfeed. We've heard stories in our family about, I didn't produce enough milk. It didn't have work for me. My milk is bad.
It's so hard and painful.
Yes, stuff like that. So I did not have a positive outlook on breastfeeding at first because I just thought if it worked, it worked. If it didn't work, it's fine. I was formula fed and I'm fine. So it's not a necessity.
But I remember when we first met about 2 months ago, and you were having some challenges with breastfeeding.
Okay,
I mean, that would have been with your past experiences or what you were hearing about it. You were like a proper candidate for saying, I ain't bothered with that. I hear it hard. It clearly is hard. I'm done. What made you continue on?
Well, every journey is different. She was born on the lower side of birth weight, as well as, being in an ICU for a few days. And I don't know if it's maternal instinct or what, but when I saw her for the first time and I realized that, this is something that I can do. The doctors are doing their part, but breastfeeding and breast milk is something that I can do to ensure that she thrives and that she, is the healthiest little person that she can be. It immediately became a no-brainer. Like, I am going to do this. This is what she needs. This is what we are going to do.
And interestingly, we were actually on NICU on Thursday. And we actually did a presentation to the mums on NICU. And those mums are under some pressure. Not just all of their babies are not premature, but some of them, even if they are term, they might have medical illnesses and so on, and they're under pressure. But they were so open and engaging. They shared their stories with us.
Yeah.
They received the information that we had for them. They're fantastic bunch of mums on the NICU, boy.
And I find NICU really encourages breastfeeding.
Oh, that's brilliant.
They not only provide a little room and facility for it to take place, but as soon as you come down as a mom to visit, they would if a feed is due, like, okay, we're not going to feed it, mommy, try to breastfeed, no matter the state the baby is in, they really encourage moms to just try, make sure that you're making an effort. And they came in with myself and another young lady, and she was having a challenge with her breast being a bit I think it would be engorged and painful, and the nurse sat there and she massaged her breast and helped her to express a little bit in the bottle, and then so I find that they are very accommodating and they were extremely helpful with figuring that out. That's
fantastic. So Damar, I wanted to ask you a few questions as well too. I mean, you don't have breasts. We knew you were not going to actually do the physical breastfeeding, But how do you feel before you actually had your little one? What were your thoughts about breastfeeding? Did you think it was something you wanted Michelle to do, or you didn't really care?
I think I wanted her to do it because her body was designed to do it. So I would say yes. I wanted her to do it. I didn't have any thoughts per se in terms of how I can help initially.
Right, okay.
But my neighbor, he told me, one of the things he told me he knew we were expecting, he said, even if you can't breastfeed, but you can do stuff to help her so you can get the
Your
bottles.
neighbor told you that?
Yeah.
That's a pretty progressive neighbor, boy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
he is.
yeah, he is. He is a family guy.
Right, okay.
So he told me, even if you can help indirectly.
Right, okay. That's some fantastic advice that you got from him.
Yeah.
And do you think, I mean, can you cite a major way that you would have supported her? Like one thing? Because there are dads out there that are going to be listening to this or watching this. And what would you say was the best way that you helped Michelle?
Okay, I can think of two things.
Okay.
The first one is I Googled a lot.
Right.
So I wasn't afraid to see what the problem or whatever it is. Let me see what it is so I can face it.
Right, okay.
And so I can troubleshout it.
Right, okay.
That's my mentality.
Right, okay.
The second thing I think I did was I encouraged her a lot. She says that I'm an eternal optimist and stuff like that.
You're a cheerleader.
Yeah.
Right,
But-
okay.
No, but sometimes it is difficult, and it was difficult. It's a lot more difficult than I thought it was.
Right,
Because
okay.
like most men probably, you think the baby comes out, you put
Pop
on
the
the
boob
breast.
That's it.
That's it.
With Michelle, it was like one day she didn't have milk, the next day she had milk.
Right, okay.
And then one day her breasts were nice and soft, the next day feeling that freaked me out. It was like, I had zero idea that this thing existed. And it was like, oh my goodness.
Right, okay. Okay.
So when it was difficult, I tried to, and I know sometimes hearing, good stuff when it's not really going well, sometimes you don't really want to hear it.
Yes, yeah. Was that
for
how she
sure.
responded? Like, really, right now? I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But, I find you have to push past that.
Yeah.
And just try to encourage, and even when, so like sometimes one day she would latch on pretty good, like next 2 days was stress. I was like, but remember, it's a process. Remember,
Right.
they got
Right.
so like,
Right,
yeah.
okay. I have to say that what you cited you did is exactly what they say dads are supposed to do. And that what you did increases the likelihood that mommy is going to be successful at breastfeeding. So clearly you read the article.
Or Googled it.
Or Google the article.
I just
Mr.
came across
Google.
that one.
Right, okay. So I know that motherhood, parenting has its challenges. It's, a lot of ups and downs. And now you're looking at your little one in the face and thinking, oh my gosh, she's so lovely and wonderful. But to get here
Was not easy.
would not have been easy. Can you think, is there anything that stands out for you, Michelle, in terms of challenges or a win? Either one in terms of breastfeeding or parenting.
I think that there were two pivotal points when she came home and I realized we were still struggling with breastfeeding, and even though I had a resource in terms of a midwife close to me, and we were still not successful, I really started to stress about it and thinking that I might have to give up, because even though I was able to produce milk and expressing milk, I really wanted her to latch, because that would be a more effective way of producing and so on. And I remember calling the breastfeeding foundation, and the first conversation I had with you, that was immediately something that allowed me to exhale. And then after that, having the consultation session and actually seeing that we could achieve latching, this was actually possible. I think that invigorated me for another 2 weeks. Even though there were challenges in those 2 weeks, I felt like I was refreshed.
Right.
Like I could pick up the fight again. And it was surprising to me that even though we were successful that time, that it wasn't always like that.
That it wasn't going to be like every single time.
Yeah. But then I remember you saying, you know, if a successful breastfeeding can take up to 2 months, you know, for a baby and mommy to get the hang of it, to establish it. And I'm like, okay, this will take time and stuff like that. But then Damar was there, you know, encouraging as well. But the day that we latched on consecutive feeds, and you know, morning we did it, the next feed we did it, and the next day we are still doing it. Oh my God, you do not know how that was just like jubilee. It was amazing, and it just felt like, okay, we have turned the corner. And I remember, you know, feeling that. And it's not that we did not have days where we struggled a bit after that, but it was different. And it just felt as though, okay, this is something we can do. We are getting there. There's something happening. So that was big. That was big.
And I would say, you know, I tell parents, breastfeeding is, you know, everybody says it's a journey, almost to the point of cliche now. Everybody, it's a journey, it's a journey. But I tell parents, it's progress over perfection. You're not expecting every day to be perfect. You're just looking at over a series of days that you're getting slowly better. And as I said, it's kind of ups and downs. You know?
It's okay, princess.
The star of the show is making her presence felt.
Okay. Breast milk in this bottle.
It is? Oh, yes. Okay. So she doesn't get any formula at all?
Sometimes, but very seldom.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've spoken a lot about the breastfeeding and the challenges that you guys have had, but you are still a wife. You're still a mother, parent, but you're still a woman. How do you balance, like right now? And I mean, you still have a long time to go because she's still only 3 months.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you know, and how do you plan to balance it so that you still prioritize yourself while you are taking care of your family?
One thing I think is the mental side of it in terms of balance. You have to give yourself grace. You cannot jump into everything you used to do before, and you can't do it all at once. And you have to give yourself grace for that. One thing for me is like working out and becoming active again.
Okay.
So, you know, not being able to do that was something that I had to give myself grace for.
Right.
I know that I've started again. Giving myself grace that it can't look the same way it used to look before. But also, as women, I think that we have to give our partners the opportunity to really be there for us. I think we say that and we expect that, but at the same time, we kind of like to be super moms as well. Trying to do everything. So giving him the opportunity, because he wants to be there, and giving him that opportunity to support me, and like, okay, if mommy wants to work out, then I'm gonna play with her, I'm gonna hold her, I'm gonna, you know, feed her, whatever the case is. He lets me rest on mornings I want to work out by taking her, so I can get a little extra sleep, so that, you know, then I can get up a little bit more refreshed and I have the energy to work out. So I think that you have to reframe how you see yourself as a woman.
Right.
It is evolved. You are not the same, and there's no expectation you should have of being the same. So if you're not going to be open to the fact that you can't do life in the same way, then you're going to struggle, and it's going to be a mental battle more than anything else.
So basically what you're saying is that, and I totally agree, you got to put your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
Both of you. So Damar and Michelle, put your oxygen mask on first. Make sure you guys are good, and then she'll be good.
Oh, boy.
And then Damar, you know, Michelle was saying a lot about how you are. And I also noted it because you kept tipping the bottle up every time it was falling down.
Yeah.
And like
Sorry,
I kind of feel like there's some fathers, not that they don't notice and not that they don't care, but they feel as though it's not their role to do that. They're like, okay, mommy got this. She's mommy. I can leave her to do it. What makes you a little bit different in terms of your approach?
I just think that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Right. Okay.
There's a sense of I felt it when I got married that I know I'm responsible for these people.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So, or for this woman,
Yeah.
and now for these people.
Right. Okay.
So that I guess that's the way how I view it. Like, they're my responsibility.
And did you have role models in your growing up that you saw that, or you saw something different and wanted to do it differently?
My dad took care of us
Right,
to the best of his ability.
Yeah.
My mom died when I was young.
Right. Okay.
So my dad took care of us. My uncle next door, he was a stellar parent,
Right.
husband. So I had good examples of that. I
Right.
grew up with good examples. Yeah.
Seeing how to do it, and
Yeah.
therefore you emulate it in your own with your own family as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic. So Damar, I just wondered, you talked a lot about being strong for your family and realizing that you had an obligation to your wife first and then your little one. So you're being strong for them. Where do you find your strengths? Who's strong for you?
I find my strength from the Lord.
Okay.
The Lord that's, people talk about it as a cliche as well, but it is a reality for me. It's a reality for me
Right.
that my relationship with God and what God says a father is and who a father is and what a father should do. And I want to please God, so I do these things.
So you have a template there that is
Yes.
provided there for you in the Bible, a template as to how a man should be and a husband should be.
Yeah, and a lot of, funny enough, the Bible speaks about men as the persons who raise the children, but or who play a bigger role than what is purported now.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
the man really is
A big
a
part.
big part of a family.
And I would say I agree with you only because my daughters now are 11 and 13, and I am seeing more now. So before now, it was mommy, 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 like a song, essentially. But now they're turning more to their father. Daddy, what do you think about this? Daddy, how should I do this? Daddy, so that there's more balance now than ever before. So I'm seeing, and I think you had mentioned it about
seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, because I find, well, she's young, so she doesn't communicate, but in terms of what she needs, comfort and so on, we have more of that connection because she needs mommy now. Mommy
Right.
breastfeeds, mommy comforts, I'm accustomed to mommy's heartbeat, those things. But I was having a conversation, and from my own experience, there were times before teenage years where it would have been, much a daddy's girl. You always, if daddy, my father is a mechanic,
Yeah.
so I'm always up on a truck with him. We going out
Right.
that he's going to fix
Sounds
this
so
or going,
familiar.
yeah. And I'm doing all of these things. But then as you approach womanhood, past puberty, more, young adult coming into those years, I turn back to mommy because
Right.
now if I want to ask a woman question or, looking at, who am I going to model myself as a woman after,
Yeah.
I am more relying on that relationship with my mother. So it is not, and that's why I think the balance is so important, and having both parents is so important. You need the two perspectives, and you need to have a role model in each area for the child.
So Damar, you would have mentioned the approach you have to parenting and being a father and husband based on your connection with the Bible. So there's guidance there, but I want to find out from both of you, what would you guys have had to change fundamentally about yourselves and your approach in order to, to adjust to parenting? Parenting ain't easy. So how did you have to change yourselves?
It's the same for both parenting and marriage. Like, which is basically just look outside myself. Like, it's not about me anymore. It's not all about me. And when we were doing marriage counseling, the counselor had said, men have a big ego, right? And I never thought of myself in that category, personally. But marriage and parenthood teaches you or shows you, sometimes where, you do think about yourself. You really do.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
You mean to the point of being selfish, you think?
Unintentionally.
So
Yeah.
let me give you a quick example. When we change the way how our bed is now to facilitate her sometimes at night. And we tried it for a few nights. And I said to Michelle, this ain't working for me.
Okay.
So we went back for one night for what it was before.
Yeah.
But obviously, I wasn't thinking about them. So we had a discussion about it, and then we thought it was that was a selfish moment.
But I like how you kind of reason it out. It's a very simple example. That's not like, that's not going to break or change anything. But that's a small example of how you do focus in on yourselves in certain moments, and then you step back and you think, oh, actually, that was a little selfish of me. Right? Okay. And what about you, Michelle?
For me, it was scrambling everything I thought I knew about being a parent and a mother. You have influences from how you were raised, influences from your thought processes, how you think it should be from observing others. And I find that when you have your own journey, that a lot of what you had thought you would want to do or think about in terms of being right or wrong, you recognize that it becomes very personal. And in terms of my relationship with God, one thing that I found when I was even pregnant that I started to recognize is that if I'm going to survive this, I need to rely on what he is saying to me about how to care for her, because each child is different. And your child might be able to, you might be able to do a certain activity with them and they thrive with that. But then with her, this is not how she is. This is not what she is receptive of and so on. And not thinking that I have to force a certain model on myself or on my family, but relying on my relationship with God to kind of guide me as to what is right for our family, what works for us, what works for her.
So do you think your intuition is God then?
Yeah, it has to be, relying on the Holy Spirit to just whisper things to me. As we were talking before about something as simple as, reading the baby's intuition about putting them down and having to cry and so on, and I recognized there were days when she was less moody when I cared more for her in that way, when I allowed myself to be soft and not think that, okay, I have to let her cry out because that's what you're supposed to do and so on, but recognizing, hey, when I look at her face, she just wants a little comfort. She just wants me to be there. And what message am I sending to her about that? And I find that, when we settled in that way in my mind and not thinking that I had to do it a particular way, things got a lot easier for us.
That's called responsive parenting.
Oh, really?
That's exactly what you're doing. It's called responsive parenting. That is you watching her, responding to her cues, also listening to your own intuition about what you need, and it's a symbiotic relationship between you and baby, daddy and baby, the three of you together, just kind of working together to kind of give her what she needs. Responsive parenting.
Oh.
Not very well known.
Okay.
It's a thing.
I didn't know that. All I know is that you have to find your own path in parenting, in marriage, in life, in whatever. You have to find it. And I find that for me, my yardstick is, okay, if God has created her for purpose and for her for a particular way, then he knows best to teach me how to guide her.
Did you have a lot of people in your life who were unsupportive?
You mean in terms of what I saw or with me?
Right. So, for example, for straightforward things like breastfeeding, did they say, "Oh, she's this age or whatever, she should be breastfeeding," or "Why are you trying so hard? You're starving the baby"? Those standard quips that people like to give.
I do have one sister who also has a child that I find that because she was not able to breastfeed, she was unintentionally unsupportive. I think that she didn't mean to be, but because she didn't have a positive experience, whenever she spoke to me, it was always from a negative standpoint. And I find that I had to shut that out because I wanted to do this. And even when we were successful in latching and breastfeeding, we stumbled upon another challenge where, you know, she was having a hard time with her poos and stuff like that. And then I recognized that that was related to the breast milk and so on. And I was like, oh my God, did that mean I have to stop? But we figured that out because, you know, the decision for our family is that we are going to do this, and we are going to do this as long as we can. And after experiencing the joys of, you know, just sitting with her and having that connection and breastfeeding, I was not going to give that up easily. No, I am telling Damar, like, I am not ready. So if it is that there is something that I am eating or something that she's having a reaction to, then the best thing for us is let's figure this out. And you know, and we made small changes, and we were able to figure out what was happening.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, and so then it kind of leads me on to the next part of the journey, which is going back to work. So you're not back at work yet.
No, it's
But Damar, you are back at work. And you're not back at work yet?
On vacation.
Oh, you're on vacation, but you went back to work?
Yeah.
Right. So when you first went off, when she was first born, because we always leave out daddies and we don't ask daddies. So how was it for you when you went back to work after being with her for those few weeks and taking care of her and so on? Was it hard for you?
It was hard with the lack of sleep.
I like the honesty though.
Yeah,
like it.
It was difficult going back to work and being up at night. And I can't imagine how it would have been, because it was near the end of the school term. So things were
winding down.
So it wasn't that intense at work.
Right, okay.
So I can't imagine how it would have been.
You actually had to use brain cells.
I actually had to, go work and put out fires and then.
Right.
I can see that how it's going to be shortly.
Right.
But going back to work was tiring.
Right,
That part was tiring.
Okay. And I know you're not back at work yet, but
I'm going back in September.
So that's just around the corner.
It is.
How are you feeling first, and then how are you preparing yourself emotionally, physically, etc.?
I'm not feeling as anxious as I was at first. I think that as the time approaches, maybe I might get back there, but there's no way that it feels like the right amount of time has been given for me to go back out to work. So there's that. But I had to come to grips with that and understand there's nothing I can do about it, barring giving up the job. So, I have to go back out to work. What I had to think about, what is that going to look like for our family, and how can I start preparing? What are things that we're going to need? I'm very... I don't want to say controlling, but like for me,
Damar laughs.
I like organization. If we don't have scheduling and organization, then it throws me off.
Right.
So for me, in terms of preparation, I've been, giving a lot of thought to what is it going to look like for us to be able to leave the house on time, for example, because I'm realizing that when you have a kid, you never get anywhere on time, and there's a reason for that. But so now we have to go to work. There's no two ways about that. We have to get to work on time. There's no two ways about that. How are we going to accomplish that? So, putting things in place for that to happen. I write lots of lists.
Right.
So she's going to stay with a caregiver. She's not going to go to daycare as yet. So what does that person need, and what can we get from that person that will make our journey a little easier? Like when we drop her off on mornings, can we just buy 2 of this instead of having 1, so that we don't need to think about packing that? All of those little things are things that I think about. Planning back. Yeah. Then in terms of breastfeeding and pumping enough that I can freeze ahead, that has been a little bit of angst there, because
you've been managing to pump.
I've been managing to pump, but because she had a little space of time where she is not about the bottle.
Right, okay.
So she wants to be latched on to me all the time, and we're home, so I kind of don't fight her all the time, but then that does not give me as many opportunities to pump.
Right, okay.
So trying to manage that balance in terms of how much do I need to do that, but I have some stored away,
Good.
and I'm hoping that I'll be able to. We have about 2-3 more weeks. If I can gab enough that she can be like 2-3 weeks ahead at a time,
That's fun. That'd be fantastic.
that would be fantastic. Yeah.
And you have the capability of being able to pump out work?
We've never discussed it as a staff, but we've had two moms before me, recent moms, and they've tried different things. So I think that I would just kind of follow suit from which it's only really lunchtime that you have, but I'll. Unless we have an honest conversation about it at work, I know they're not prepared necessarily to just give you another space slot of time to do that. So,
Because and the thing is that don't second guess. You even if they say no.
yeah, no, I'm gonna ask.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm gonna
HR
ask.
manager,
I'm
whoever.
forward enough that I'm going to ask.
Good.
But I know that we're sitting here, we are having these conversations, but there's a whole wide world out there that does not think that breastfeeding needs this much support.
We are very much in a bubble.
Yeah, So we are aware of what that it takes and what it would take, but there are persons that you would go and you would ask and
glazed over.
Yeah. It makes no sense to them that, you need this type of support. And, if we're purporting that best is best and all of these things, but we're not putting anything in place for us to achieve it, then I'm really not sure.
So on that note, as we segue into the recent announcement by Minister Jordan, he gave an interview a few days ago where he's saying that there's proposals on the table to extend maternity leave to by a month to a total of 4 months, and to implement paternity leave or shared parental leave for about 6 months.
6 months, yeah.
Mommy and daddy could split it however they want it,
Yeah.
but it's a 6 months total shared parental leave. So what do you think about the idea of that? And then do you think that what he's suggesting is enough and that kind of thing?
We are lagging behind in terms of what parts of the world are doing in terms of supporting mothers and maternity leave and so on. So I think that is a drop in the bucket in terms of what they can do for moms. You're talking about the not having as many kids being born and so on. But if you're going to have this generation do that, then you're going to have to provide some
social protection for them.
Yeah. It cannot be that you're asking us to do what our grandparents and so on did in this climate, in this culture, in the same way, because things are different. It's not the same. And I hear people saying, well, your grandmother had 10 or this body, but things were culturally a lot different. The support was different. How women showed up in a social setting was different. Now we kind of really do it all in terms of work and having side hustles and still mothering and still being in marriages and stuff like that. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And it can't be the same. So you do have to provide, put measures in place. So I don't think that 4 months, as I said, drop in the bucket to me. It would make a difference, but there needs to be other things attached to that. It has to be a multifaceted approach in terms of how we tackle this. Because, as I said, even after my 4 months and I go back to work, are my employers going to support, my journey and so on, and breastfeeding?
Workplace policy needs to be in place.
We had this is just one personal example of a mom who, she's a single parent. She has to drop her kid off to school. The school is insisting you can't drop them off before a certain time, but work begins at this particular time. And you have an employer who, wants to be really hard and fast about the time and not allowing for any leeway at all. What does a parent really do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I mean, I recognize that there's employers, their focus is their bottom line, and obviously their businesses need to thrive, so they have to have a certain structure in place. You cannot bend to every single individual in the organization.
No.
But if you see there's a general trend towards the majority of persons not being able to fit into your mold, then maybe change the mold a little bit.
And there's some of us,
so that you can still reach your bottom line.
Yeah, there's some women you will see willing to bend over backwards, for lack of a better term. They're willing to work through lunch, to put in extra hours, and they're already tired, but they're willing to do all of that if it means, well, you can accommodate me a little bit on mornings and stuff like that. But I find, we have not reached where we need to be culturally in terms of how we view parenting, motherhood, even like just family life we really don't support it as much as we should.
I personally think that what the minister is suggesting, recommending, or proposing to cabinet, I think it is a step in the right direction.
It is,
for sure.
For sure.
But again, I think there needs to be more discussion with me and you and other stakeholders to say, hey, listen, maybe if you do this, we would actually prefer you to do this and not do that.
Yes.
So where they have this suite of policies that maybe, some parents maybe like, no, I don't actually want that. This is what I would prefer you to do, and maybe give me a little bit more of this. So maybe more conversation, if that has not already happened. To really find out what people on the ground who are living this actually really want. So I do think, as we said, step in the right direction, commending the government for
even thinking about it
at this time when we know that there's some economic constraints. So definitely, we looking forward to seeing how it really plays out.
And if I can add this part about the adding the dad into that and paternity leave, again, I do not understand how a 21st century family is supposed to really exist and thrive without allowing for a dad to be that kind of support. You have women who, I personally had, a cesarean and so on, and other complications, postnatal and so on. How am I supposed to function with, a newborn at home and stuff like that if I can't have, he's my main support system, without him at least having a little time, without thinking, oh my gosh, I have to be up all night with mom and baby supporting them and still have to go out to go to work and stuff like that. It's very difficult.
Yeah, it is. So I do like the start of, I'm calling it a start in terms of giving paternity leave for 1 month. And then, hopefully we'll be able to, have those discussions and move forward there. Do you guys have anything more to add? Any advice that you guys want to give? Like 1 or 2 points of advice you want to give to fathers and mothers out there in terms of how to navigate this whole breastfeeding, parenting journey? It ain't easy. That's one thing you can tell them. It's not easy.
I would say take it in straight. What you think you know, and what you think you've seen before, that's you can keep it there for knowledge because it's good to have knowledge, but like Misha mentioned before, not everything works out the same for you as it did for somebody else.
Right.
So is really a fine-tuning process.
Yeah.
Where you really have to be aware and present.
Yeah.
She would ask me, what are you doing here? Like, if she's breastfeeding, I'll just come and just
right, just be there.
Just look and see what's happening.
Even to change a pamper, he's just there, like, I just want to make sure if you need help. It's fine.
I love it.
But just be present and put on your phone. And again, it is stressful. I ain't fooling anybody. It's stressful.
Yeah,
it is stressful. It's taxing, but you really have to change the way you think about this whole thing and about yourself and about your family. And for me, that is what got me through or has helped me to get through. Changing how I think about it. I'm not a bachelor. I'm not single anymore. I don't have time to do certain things. Like, I haven't played football in like 3 months.
Really? That's a big thing.
That's
for
a
him.
Anybody that watching this and know me and hear me say this, since she was born, I haven't been back out to football on Saturdays just because I don't want to go and then something happens, I get sick and then I give it to her or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of sacrifices too.
Right. Okay.
So
okay.
For me, my final thing was just to underscore the importance of having a support system. I think that for breastfeeding, for motherhood, these are not journeys that you should do on your own. It is built for community, I think. Don't think it too much to ask someone to, come sit with you if you feel like you just need company. It can be lonely because sometimes, attending to her need, and you were the only person that can provide that for her, throughout the day, throughout the night, and it's a never ending cycle. It doesn't stop, it might seem, crazy, but sometimes you just need to talk to somebody who understands as well. Sometimes you just need like somebody else to come and provide a different, different mood or different atmosphere, just come and laugh with you and so on. But you need support. You need support. So whether it be a spouse, whether you have a neighbor, a friend, a family member, whoever, just make sure that you are reaching out, make sure that you are staying connected and not isolating yourself and not having, verbalizing what it is that you might need in this season.
Right. I have to say this was a really wonderful conversation with you two. I kind of knew it was. I remember when we first met, and literally I was there for ages. We were just chatting about all these same issues, so I knew we would have a good conversation here. And I want to thank you guys for coming. I know that this was challenging. Miss Princess over there,
she will learn.
She rules. She rules the show, but yeah, she did good. Yeah, she did very well.
Yeah, you're gonna be
I want
okay.
to thank you guys for being here today. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us as well.
Thank you, viewers, for tuning into this episode of The Milk of the Matter. Our sponsor for today's show is Kelly Amory of Nubian Naturals. I am Dr. Alison Bernard, your host for the podcast.